At that time, I feel sure that an explosion had taken place in the boat, because in passing the wreck the next morning, we steamed past it. I just happened to think of this, which may be of some assistance to this inquiry. I was standing forward, looking to see if I could see any dead bodies or any of my friends, and to my surprise, I saw the barber's pole floating. The barber's pole was on the sea deck. My recollection is the barber shop, and that must have been a tremendous explosion to allow this pole to have broken from its fastenings and drift with the wood. Major Arthur G., first class passenger in Lifeboat 6.
I heard one. After we left the ship, it was not an explosion, sort of a rumbling. I have no idea what it was. It was not an ordinary explosion, more like distant thunder. I saw her stern disappear at the finish. George Thomas Rowe, quartermaster in collapsible sea.
She was well down at head first. When we got away from her at first, and to my idea, she broke forward and the after part righted itself and made another plunge and went right down. I fancied I saw her black form. It was dark, and I fancied I saw her black form going that way. Alfred Oliver, quartermaster in Lifeboat 5.
We pulled astern that way again, and after we got astern, we lay on our oars and saw the ship go down. After she got to a certain angle, she exploded, broke in halves, and it seemed to me as all of the engines and everything that was in after part slid out into the forward part, and after part came up right again. And as soon as it came up right down and went again, Frank Osman, seaman and lifeboat.
I saw the forward part of her go down, and it appeared to me as if she broke in half. And then the after part went. I can remember two explosions. George Moore, seaman in lifeboat number 3.
She went down as far as the after funnel, and then there was a little roar, as though the engines had rushed forward, and she snapped in two. And the bow part went down, and the after part came up and stayed up 5 minutes before it went down, because we could see the after part float, and there was no fore part to it. I think she must have parted where the bunkers were. She parted at the last, because the after part of her settled out of the water horizontally after the other part went down. First of all, you could see her propellers and everything. Her rudder was clear out of the water. You could hear the rush of the machinery, and she parted in two. And after parts settled down again, and we thought the after part would float all together. Edward John Bully, seaman and lifeboat hand.
After getting clear of the ship, the lights were still burning very bright. But as we got away, she seemed to go lower and lower, and she stood almost up perpendicular, and her stern lights went dim. And presently, she broke clean in two, probably 2/3 of the length of the ship. George Frederick Crowe, steward in Lifeboat 14. Her bow was in the water. She exploded in the water. She exploded once in the water, and her stern end was up out of the water. And with the explosion out of the water, it blew her sternum. John Collins, cook on collapsible beak. I heard just a small sound. It was not very loud, but just a small sound. When we got away in the boat, at the last, everything seemed to go black to a mist, to a black mist. All the lights seemed to go out, and everything went black. C.E. Andrews, steward in Lifeboat 16. About 200 yards. You could see her when the lights were clear. And then, until she gave the final plunge, she parted between the third and fourth funnels. The foremost part was gone, and it seemed as if the engines were all gone out. And then I should say about 200 feet was afloat. That is, of the stern part. Frank Oliver Evans, seaman in Lifeboat number 10. Then suddenly, when we still seemed very near, we saw the ship was sinking rapidly. I was in the bow of the boat, and when my daughter and I turned to see the great ship take a plunge toward the bow. The two forward funnels seemed to lean, and then she seemed to break in half as if cut with a knife. And as the bow went under, the lights went out. The stern stood up for several minutes, black against the stars, and then that too plunged down. There was no sound for what seemed like hours. Emily Bosey Ryerson, first class passenger in Lifeboat 4.